Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 496 based on novel. So let's start. Although Wang Lin's words weren't loud, they were heaven-shaking. The expression of the young man holding the flying sword changed greatly. He was only an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator. When he looked at Wang Lin seemed very large. That roar had also caused the sky to change colors. That mighty aura formed an invisible barrier that caused the young man's face to turn pale. He actually coughed out blood and his sword light dimmed. He didn't dare to move forward, and the flying sword in his hand fell to the ground. Then he quickly retreated. Impossible, impossible. You are just a mortal, you're just an ant. You can't make me afraid. The young man trembled like crazy and his mind rumbled. His voice became twisted as he retreated, causing the people kneeling to be filled with disbelief. Throughout the ages, such a thing had never been seen before. A mortal had just dared to scold an immortal cultivator. That thunderous roar seemed to linger forever in one's ears. As the young man retreated, the other young man stepped out. His cultivation level was far above the others. He was at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. He stepped forward and his hands pressed against his fellow sect members' back. He looked at Wang Lin and Big Fortune, who were the only people standing. With this glance, he faintly saw an aura above Wang Lin that made him tremble. This aura was strong, and with just a glance, his mind was filled with countless complicated thoughts. It seemed like it was going to break his mind and force him to cough out a mouthful of blood. I have comprehended the world, so what if I see immortals as ants? Forget the two of you, even if all the immortals on planet Suzaku came, so what? Wang Lin looked up, and thunder seemed to be flashing his eyes. His long hair fluttered and he drank a mouthful of wine. Terrified, the young man felt his scalp go numb. This kind of thing was beyond his imagination. Although Wang Lin looked fragile, he could sense a powerful, upright aura that didn't fear the heavens or earth. It was comparable to a spell that could hurt them, and it made him feel a sense of respect. How can this be? He is just a mortal, just a mortal. How could he give off such an aura, this person? Can't be offended. He didn't dare to leave like this, but he remained in the air with a respectful expression. He clasped his hands at Wang Lin as if he was greeting an elder. It was our fault. I hope Grand Scholar won't take offense. We will leave now and never enter the city of Su again. With that, the young man quickly left while supporting the other young man. The surroundings suddenly became silent. Wang Lin stood there and drank a mouthful of wine. A gust of wind blew by, causing his clothes to flutter before everyone. What's impossible about it? Wang Lin put down the jug of wine and his gaze fell into the crowd. He saw the pale-faced Su Yi that had asked the question. Su Yi lowered his head and his body started to tremble. It took a long time for him to struggle to get up and bow at Wang Lin. Su Yi greets Zhao's Grand Scholar. We greet Zhao's Grand Scholar. All the scholars clasped their hands. Their trembling eyes revealed indescribable reverence. What happened today was something they would never forget. The many old men in the carriages outside lowered their heads. They were content with their loss. They could have never imagined in their lives that a mortal could frighten an immortal, but now they had witnessed it. A complicated sense of pride appeared in their hearts. If your thoughts are infinitely large, if you understand the truth of the world, then you can even look at immortals as ants. This line spread across the country of Zhao from today onward. I'm tired. Wang Lin took the wine jug and looked at the restaurant. The middle-aged man in the restaurant was drenched in sweat and in a daze. He didn't dare to look at Wang Lin but lowered his head and bowed. Wang Lin and Big Fortune turned and went back into the mansion. The countless scholars bowed for a long time before they leaving one by one. Finally, everyone who came for their own reasons slowly left and the city of Su gradually became quiet. No one dared to say a word of doubt anymore. The storm from before disappeared without a trace. Due to this matter, Wang Lin's reputation surged in Zhao and he completely replaced his teacher, Su Dao, as Zhao's Grand Scholar. a grand scholar that could frighten immortals. Time passed. Wang Lin's 10-year lecture was still ongoing, but no one was qualified to question him. If anyone came, they were like students who respectfully listened to his teachings. In the blink of an eye, 8 years passed. In 8 years of time, Wang Lin had gone from his early 40s to someone who was almost half a century old. His hair had started to turn white. During these 8 years, Wang Lin would spend a few days out of every month sitting on the boat with Big Fortune while drinking Osmanthus wine. He was always waiting for that person that hadn't come according to the agreement. Not just these 8 years, but he did the same thing in the 20 years before that. A total of 28 years, 28 changes between the spring and autumn. However, in the end, as the boat passed under the bridge, that person still didn't arrive. "Master, what are you waiting for?" Big Fortune was still healthy, but he had become even more stingy. He often looked at his right wrist in a daze, trying to recall something, but he still couldn't remember. Wang Lin's face was a bit old and he looked up at the sky. He slowly spoke with a hoarse voice, "I'm waiting for myself. Waiting for a meeting with myself." There was still a white bird swirling in the air. It had accompanied Wang Lin for 28 years without any change. As Wang Lin looked, he became a bit tired and leaned against the boat. He fell asleep as the zither music echoed in his ears. The music seemed to fuse with his dream. There seemed to be zither music in that dream too. Big Fortune let out a sigh and he looked at his right wrist in a daze. The sunlight at noon was very soft and warm when it landed on Wang Lin's body, so Wang Lin slept very well. However, during this season, there were some willow leaves floating through the air. One flew softly across Wang Lin's face, causing him to open his eyes. The boat was still moving. Looking at the willow leaf floating before him, Wang Lin suddenly smiled. "Big Fortune, do you still remember when we just arrived at the city of Su more than 20 years ago? Back then, there was also this many willow leaves, and we were also on a boat." As he laughed, a boat passed by. Just as the boat passed by, 2 soft and alluring voices came from the boat. "Senior sister, these willow leaves are very annoying. They are very uncomfortable when they land on your body. If you don't think about them, then you won't think they exist. Junior sister, your heart is not calm." After he heard these voices, he was startled. He felt like they were faintly familiar, as if he had heard them before. He stood up and looked over. He saw the figures of 2 women above the boat. These 2 women were very young and very beautiful. They stood among the endless willow leaves like 2 celestials. The wind caused their clothes to flutter, making them even more beautiful. "It's them." Wang Lin stared at the boat as it disappeared. In his mind, that boat from that rainy night from more than 20 years ago appeared. As he looked, he revealed a gentle smile. He could not forget how he looked at the ink like dark clouds in the rain. How he looked at the mighty world and recited a poem. He still remembered how happy he was. The reprimand from the girl named Xu Fei still lingered in his ears. His own blush and heartbeat inside that boat along with the beauty of those 2 girls were still in his memory, they hadn't faded. That thick coat was placed in the bamboo backpack from back then by Wang Lin. He still kept it there and had never taken it out. Wang Lin let out a sigh. He touched his white hair but didn't call out to them. He sat there and drank his wine. In his life, he had never met a woman that made his heart move. Aside from Big Fortune and wine, the only other thing that accompanied him was the white bird in the sky. He didn't have a wife. He seemed to have walked through 28 years of his life in this loneliness. If there was a woman that made his heart move, it would have to be when he first met her. The girl named Chu Rui, who had gifted him the coat. Leaning against the bow and drinking wine, Wang Lin looked down at the water and saw his own old face in the reflection. He had a lot more white hair now. The boat the 2 women were in gradually closed in until they passed by Wang Lin's boat. It was like 2 different trajectories in life, and they continued on their different paths. "Hey, senior sister, I think that old man was looking at us." Xu Fei looked at Wang Lin's back. The boat floated under a stone bridge. Ju Rui turned around and her sharp eyes swept by. However, from her position, with the stone bridge blocking the way, she couldn't see anything. She was also not someone who would check with her divine sense just because someone had looked at her. The two boats floated further and further away from each other. Wang Lin sat on the boat and softly spoke to Big Fortune. Big Fortune, let's leave the city of Su. I have waited here for 28 years, we aren't waiting anymore. Let us go home. Home? Where is home? Big Fortune was startled. Under the Hangyu mountain. The boat docked on the shore and Wang Lin and Big Fortune got off. He looked back at the river and at the city of Su, where they had lived for 28 years. When they arrived, it was when the willow leaves had just begun to fall. There were a few jugs of wine, a carriage, and the two of them. When they left, it was the same. The carriage brought the two of them along with a few jug of wines out of the city of Su without anyone noticing. They slowly headed toward the direction of Wang Lin's home. It wasn't until dusk that the two women from the boat got off and walked down the streets of Su. Their appearances gradually changed and became very ordinary. Senior sister, you grew up here. Aside from the boat, is there any other fun place to go? We have been in closed-door cultivation for so long and finally got to come out, we have to have some fun. I'm going home to visit my parents, and you have to follow me. There is no fun place in the city of Su. Tomorrow, I'm going to visit the Grand Scholar Su Dao. He was a family friend in his earlier years. Once you go there, you must not be disrespectful. Although he is a mortal, even teacher is very polite to him. As the two spoke, a scholar walking by heard this and smiled. He saw that the two women were very ordinary, but he still stopped and explained. You two ladies must have been away from Jiao for a long time. Su Dao died more than 10 years ago. The great scholar of Jiao now is named Wang Lin, he is Su Dao's student. The two women were startled. The scholar shook his head and left with a smile. Wang Lin. Wang Lin. Ah, senior sister, I remember. The old man that looked at you on the boat, although he is old, he was that little scholar, Wang Lin. Ju Rui stopped in her tracks and he looked back at the twilight. Before her, the image of the young man blushing appeared. Senior sister, what's wrong? Xu Fei looked at Ju Rui as if she had understood something. Ju Rui silently pondered for a moment before gently shaking her head. She walked forward with Xu Fei, but she only walked 10 steps before she clenched her teeth as if she had made a decision. Wait for me. After speaking one line, Ju Rui's body flickered and she charged off into the distance. Her sudden action caused an uproar in the surroundings. The people nearby were in awe and disbelief. They were in a daze for a long time before they reacted. Immortal. That was an immortal. Xu Fei looked at Ju Rui's figure and her eyebrows slightly wrinkled. She let out a gentle sigh. Ju Rui's divine sense spread across the river while flying above the city of Su. However, in the end, she couldn't find that figure. Even after she searched the entire city of Su, it was still the same. Did he leave? Ju Rui didn't know what was wrong with her. She wanted to see Wang Lin, but fate had made a fool out of her. Once two lives cross paths, they won't cross paths again for a short period of time. Dozens of kilometers outside the city of Su, the carriage squeaked as it moved along the road. Wang Lin was sitting in the carriage, allowing the wind to blow past him. He drank wine as he looked outside the curtain at the dim sky, thinking about something. Although he wasn't old, he no longer looked young. As he continued to drink wine, a few more strands of white hair appeared. He again saw the white bird circling in the sky and flying toward his home with him. Now that he was older, his body was not as good as when he was young. After being on the bumpy carriage for a long time, he felt like his bones were going to scatter. He was extremely tired. Just like this, they traveled and rested throughout the summer. After 4 months passed, Wang Lin and Big Fortune entered the area under the Hangyu mountain in autumn. When he had left, the side of the road was covered in red and green flowers. When he returned, most of the flowers had withered and the leaves had turned yellow. Although they hadn't all fallen off, that time wasn't far. 28 years, Wang Lin looked at the grass and trees around him and his vision turned blurry. He remembered that when he left, he was only a young man, but now that he had returned, he was almost half a century old. The carriage slowly followed the official road into a quiet and hidden village in the mountains. Wang Lin was very familiar with everything here. He grew up here. He didn't catch the attention of too many neighbors as he brought big fortune to the home he had left all those years ago. His parents were still there, but his once tough father was now supporting himself with a stick. He stood there with the help of Wang Lin's white-haired mother. They looked toward the road, at their child coming home. Even though this child had become the grand scholar of Zhao and the pride of the Wang family, to them, Wang Lin was the same as he was 28 years ago. He was still their child. It was the same now, and when they were taken to the city of Su, it was also the same. The carriage stopped outside the courtyard. Wang Lin walked down from the carriage and immediately saw his parents. He revealed a soft smile. Wang Lin stepped forward and knelt down. "Father, Mother, Taizhu has returned." Big Fortune blinked. After he got off the carriage, he also knelt down and loudly said, "Father, Mother, Big Fortune has returned." Wang Lin's father laughed. He ignored Wang Lin and quickly helped Big Fortune up. He shook his head and laughed. "You, still the same as back then. You have taken care of Lin for all these years, I can't thank you enough. But don't copy him." Wang Lin stood up and looked at his parents' happy smiles. An unspeakable sense of warmth appeared in his heart. He held his mother's arm, supported his father, and let Big Fortune into the courtyard. "Taizhu, when will you leave this time?" Wang Lin's mother looked kindly at her son. Wang Lin was her pride. Still calling him Taizhu? Wang Lin is now the Grand Scholar of Zhao. Do you know what a Grand Scholar is? Even the Emperor has to respectful. Do you not see how the country lord always come over every year? Wang Lin's father stared at his wife. "I'm not leaving this time. Taizhu will stay to take care of both of you." Wang Lin looked at his mother. He saw her head of white hair and the wrinkles on her face. Wang Lin's return caused an uproar in the entire village for a few days. The neighbors all rushed over. They wanted to see the Grand Scholar of Zhao. That made them all feel pride in their hearts. Even the scholars and officials from the nearby city rushed over once they learned of this. Along with them were relatives from the Wang family. In these few days, Wang Lin's father was radiant and stood straight. What he was most proud of in his life was his son, the Grand Scholar of Zhao. When he saw so many people coming, Wang Lin's father became even more proud. He took out silver to prepare a banquet in the village. The banquet in the village was originally very simple, but due to the push of many people, it became extremely luxurious. A chef was brought from the city along with materials and personally cooked it all. Wang Lin saw that his father was happy, so he didn't say anything. Given Wang Lin's personality, he normally wouldn't want a banquet and would prefer it to be quiet. However, since his parents were happy, he just let them be. The Wang family all came to visit Wang Lin. They were all respectful toward Wang Lin, and just one nod from him shocked them. Among these relatives, there were older uncles, heads of families, and people in the same generation as him. As Wang Lin looked at this, he felt like he had encountered this before in his dream, only there were great differences from his dream. During dusk, Wang Lin's parents seemed tired, so he left with them. The banquet gradually ended as everyone dispersed in the next few days. The mountain village became peaceful once more. "Taizhu, you're not young anymore, why haven't you gotten married?" "Ah?" Wang Lin's father was a bit drunk and muttered a few words. Then he let out a sigh and didn't speak about it anymore. Just like this, Wang Lin slowly watched the sun rise and set in the hometown he grew up in. He watched the years pass. It was 5 years later, in the autumn of the 33rd year since Wang Lin originally left his hometown. The autumn leaves were being swept by the wind and rustling on the ground, looking for their roots. Wang Lin's father laid in bed, holding Wang Lin's hands. There was reluctance in his eyes, but what was even more noticeable was relief and pride. "Taizhu, your father's life will be unforgettable because of you. Your father can't read, but I found people to gather your books and read them all to me. You once said that the reincarnation cycle is like the 4 seasons. Father remembers. Wang Lin's father smiled, but under that smile, under that pride and relief, Wang Lin could still sense a strong sense of fear. He was afraid of death, he was afraid of not being able to see his loved ones, and he was afraid of the loneliness and the unknown that came with death. He clung to Wang Lin's hand as if it was his life, his last route, the last person he could rely on. The light in his eyes dimmed, they were filled with helplessness. "Dad, don't be afraid, I'm by your side." More than half of Wang Lin's hair was white and he looked at his father with sadness in his eyes. He held his father's hand and leaned forward. Wang Lin held his father's thin body in his arms, just gently hugging him. "Dad, you have me. Don't be afraid, you have me. Dad, do you still remember the birthday present you gave me? That little wooden colt, I found it the other day. Dad?" In the yard outside, the large tree that seemed to have existed in the village for more than 100 years gave off a sense of age. Most of its leaves had been taken away by the wind, with only one leaf still hanging on. The wind rocked the leaf, and the leaf was running out of strength. In the end, the leaf fell off and landed in the room of the Wang family. Wang Lin's father was no longer afraid. He slowly closed his eyes. He lost his breath and died in his son's arms. The leaf from the tree seemed to have gained a soul and flew off into the distance. 2 years after his father left, Wang Lin's mother fell asleep and never woke up. She had a happy face, as if she had met Wang Lin's father in her dream. They reunited and didn't want to come back. There was a person that held you while you were still a baby. No matter how tired she would still whisper to you until you were asleep and no longer crying. There was a person that worried about you wetting the bed as you slept and feared that you'd catch a cold. She would disregard her own sleep and wake up several times throughout the night to check your bed to see if it was wet. There was a person who endured her exhaustion to wake up to make you breakfast so you wouldn't be hungry as you grew up and studied. There was a person who would only eat the head and tail of the fish after learning you liked to eat fish. When you would smile and ask why she wouldn't eat the body of the fish, she would smile and reply that she liked eating the head and tail. You believed her. There was a person that mended your clothes for you as you grew. There are few spots of red on the needles that were difficult for you to see. There was a person who would still look at you with the same gaze even after you grew up. She would silently look at you, silently be happy, silently smile until she silently closed her tired eyes. This person was called Mother. There was another person. When you were still a baby, he held you up high in the air until you replaced the sun and became everything to him. There was another person. Before you learned to walk and were still falling, he held your hand. He laughed as he helped you take your first step in life. There was another person that held your hand through the mountains and rivers as you laughed with joy. As you looked up, you would feel that he was the mountain, he was the sky. There was another person who saw you take it very seriously when your mother said she liked the fish's head and tail. Then saw you leave the head and tail to your mother, yet he only sat there looking at his wife with an apologetic and soft gaze. There was another person who was stern as you grew up and would almost make you feel annoyed. However, as you grew up, you would gradually see the love you couldn't see before in those stern eyes. There was another person that laid on the bed with this eye slowly closing but filled with fear and helplessness. However, your embrace and soft words made him like a child, like when you were young and he raised you into the air. He no longer felt afraid and helpless, but warm as he died in your arms. This person was called Father. Wang Lin sat before this parent's tomb and his tears flowed. He laughed and cried. The memories were engraved in his mind and he would never forget them. He wasn't drinking wine, but at this moment, it was as if he was drunk. In his dream, in the other life, he couldn't mourn for his parents. He couldn't hold his father's body as he died. He couldn't kiss his mother's forehead before she slept. In this life, he was able to. If a man has a wife and children, then although the pain of losing his parents was strong, he still had someone to rely on. But if a man didn't have wife and children, his sorrow could shroud the world. From now on, there was no embrace that could warm his soul when he becomes exhausted. From now on, There was no smile that could dissipate this melancholy while he felt lonely. From now on, in this entire world, there was only his lone figure silently looking at the sun rise and fall. Wang Lin guarded the tomb for 3 years, until all his hair turned white. His body was no longer upright but slightly bent. His body gave off an ancient aura and a trace of time. 38 years, there were wrinkles on his face. He was now an old man that was almost 60 years old. Big Fortune was even older. He held a cane and stood behind Wang Lin. He silently looked at his right wrist, and after a long time, he gently nodded. Life, how many 38 years can there be? I don't know about others, but for me there shouldn't be a next one, Wang Lin whispered as he knelt down before his parents' tomb and kowtowed. Do you still remember that old temple? Wang Lin got up and looked back at Big Fortune, who looked like he couldn't walk too far anymore. In that old temple, I said I was missing a book boy and you followed me. Wang Lin revealed a smile as he looked at Big Fortune. During these 38 years, Big Fortune had accompanied him along the whole way. Big Fortune can still be a book boy. Big Fortune rolled his eyes and grinned. You're old and I'm old. However, there are still things I want to do. Big Fortune, help me guard my home. Wait for me to come back. Wang Lin looked up at the sky and saw the white bird. I'm still missing a hint of understanding of the world. I want to spend the rest of my life going to the different countries on planet Suzaku. When I come back, perhaps I won't have gained anything, perhaps I will have gained enlightenment. On the spring of the 38th year, Wang Lin left the mountain village by himself. Big Fortune stayed, silently awaiting Wang Lin's return. Perhaps it would be in 10 years, perhaps it would be in 20 years, perhaps it would be in a lifetime. Wang Lin sat in the carriage and drank wine by himself as it went away from the Hengyu mountain. A few months later, the carriage arrived at the border of Zhao, where Wang Lin got off. He discharged the coachman and took a deep breath. He looked back at Zhao and took a step forward, crossing the border. This was the first time he had left Zhao in his life. He didn't know where the future would lead, but he didn't think about it. He only knew that the road would be beneath his feet. Just as he stepped forward, several rays of light flew by above him. He didn't look up but calmly walked forward. A soft sound came from the rays of light above. It came from a beautiful woman among several cultivators. Aside from her beauty, she was very charming, and this charm wasn't fake but natural. She stopped in the air and looked down at Wang Lin, who was walking away. Her brow wrinkled and her eyes were filled with confusion. What's the matter, junior sister Liu? A cultivator beside her opened his mouth in surprise. Nothing. You all return to the sect first. I have some personal matters, the beautiful woman said softly. She no longer paid attention to them and flew down. The cultivator that spoke was startled and was going to follow. Senior brother, I want to be alone. The woman's soft but determined voice echoed. The cultivator stopped and pondered for a bit. Then he left along with the rest of the group, who were also surprised. Wang Lin stopped and turned around. He looked back at the sky and the beautiful ray of light closed in. The light stopped 100 feet from him and turned into a beautiful woman in purple. The woman was very beautiful. Her beauty was something Wang Lin had never seen before in his life. She was several times more beautiful than Zhu Rui. However, Wang Lin didn't enter a daze. He had seen through everything and pursued the truth of the world. He had his own thoughts. In his eyes, although the woman was beautiful, once she closed her eyes and entered the soil, she would be no different from any other woman. The woman looked at the old Wang Lin, at his white hair and wrinkled face, at his bright eyes. After a long time, she gave a slight bow. Senior, I saw you decades ago. Now that we are meeting for a second time, do you still remember me? Wang Lin looked at the woman before him and began to ponder. After a long time, he smiled and shook his head, saying in a hoarse voice, I forgot. Since you forgot, then let it be forgotten. Senior, I don't know why, but I've always felt like we've met somewhere before. Not just this time, but last time as well. I want to know, what is your name? The woman asked softly, with a smile. Wang Lin remained calm and slowly said, "This old man is named Wang Lin." Wang Lin. The woman frowned and carefully thought for a long time. "Are you Zhao's grand scholar, Wang Lin?" "This old man is." Wang Lin nodded. His eyes gazed off an ancient aura. His gaze was profound, as if it contained the world. "I must have remembered wrong," the woman thought for a long time and couldn't think of where that feeling of familiarity and that stinging pain was coming from. She looked at Wang Lin and didn't understand why that feeling would become even more intense as she looked at him. His old face made her feel a sting in her heart and an unspeakable sadness. "Excuse me, farewell." She let out a sigh. She turned to leave with confusion in her eyes and pain in her chest. Wang Lin softly said, "I wonder, what is young lady's name?" The woman stopped and turned around. Liu Mai. Below her pretty eyes, she revealed a beautiful smile that could cause one's heart to skip a beat. After hesitating for a bit, she took out a pill from her bag of holding. "You are getting old, this pill can help you keep your energy. It is fate that we have met, so this is my gift to you. Goodbye." Liu Mai put down the pill. Clouds appeared under her feet and she flew into the air, looking very beautiful. It is a previous life or reincarnation, or is it a dream? Or is it nothing at all? Liu Mai, Liu Mai. That woman from my dream that caused me to awaken from pain. Wang Lin looked at the pill. He hid his thoughts very well. After a long time, it wasn't until that woman was far away that Wang Lin suddenly looked up. He used all his strength to let out a roar. "Liu Mai, you have to remember. No matter what, whether it is the next life or reincarnation or a dream, don't get close to a cultivator named Wang Lin. Don't get to know him, don't get close to him." Liu Mai had already left and Wang Lin didn't know if she had heard. He used all his strength until his voice went hoarse and there was no trace of that ray of light. This video will end here.